There are thousands of beloved, well-known, and widely sung Christmas songs out there, with some of them even being staples going back centuries. But, at least in modern times, there are very few that can match the success, notoriety, and staying power of White Christmas. A simple song about the little joys that come with the holiday. There are very few songs that have been able to embody the sentiments and feelings behind Christmas so effectively. But as a result, it might surprise many to learn that White Christmas has a pretty humble origin, similar to other classic Christmas songs I've covered in other videos. Because while known today as one of the most popular Christmas songs ever, as well as for the 1954 musical of the same name, White Christmas itself actually originates from a much more obscure movie released over a decade earlier. And today, I'd like to go over this movie and the history surrounding White Christmas in general. And there are going to be spoilers for the movie in question ahead, so in case you'd like to see it for yourself, you might want to consider coming back to this video after you have seen it. This will be the only spoiler warning I'll be giving out. Okay, so I already briefly touched on this topic in my video on classic musicals, which you can find a link in the description to, but to go more in depth here, the song White Christmas was written by legendary songwriter Irving Berlin for the 1942 musical Holiday Inn. And before you ask, yes, that title is indeed where the hotel chain took its name from, marking its legacy even further. But either way, the film was conceived by Irving Berlin in 1933 after he wrote the song Easter Parade for the stage musical Thousands Cheer, where he suggested doing a play centered around different holidays that he could write the songs for. And though the idea was tossed around for a while, it wouldn't be until the early 40s that director Mark Sandrich finally got the ball rolling on it, though as a film rather than a stage play. So, building off of Berlin's idea, Holiday Inn centers around two performers, played by Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire in one of only two on-screen pairings, who are best friends in life but rivals in love, as it seems that every time one falls for a woman, the other ends up stealing her heart. But getting tired of this routine and show business in general, Crosby decides to live a simple life on a farm, only to find that it's not nearly as relaxing as he thought it would be. So to get the peaceful existence he craves while still being able to pay the bills, he decides to turn his farm into an inn that's only open on holidays, meaning he only has to work 15 days a year. However, things get complicated when he falls for aspiring singer and dancer Linda Mason and makes her a star performer at the inn, only for Astaire to enter the picture again and want her for his new dancing partner. Feeling an old pattern returning, Crosby pulls out all the stops in order to ensure that he keeps the girl of his dreams, all the while making sure his inn is a success. So while not remembered all that much today, Holiday Inn is still a musical that manages to stand above a lot of other musicals of its period due to its unique plot, the various talent involved, and the great score by Irving Berlin. Just don't talk about the Lincoln's birthday scene, that's better off forgotten. But one extremely outdated scene aside, the point is that the movie actually delivers on Berlin's initial idea very well and is rather fun to watch. Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire gel very well together, with both being easy to sympathize with even as they employ underhanded tactics to get the girl of their dreams, especially because there are clear boundaries they won't cross. And not to mention, it's quite funny in a few places. Seriously, Lincoln's birthday may date the film, but many of the gags are timeless. But by now you're probably wondering where White Christmas fits into all of this. And befitting the fact that this is a musical where most of the songs are based around holidays, White Christmas was written as the Christmas song for the film, though Irving Berlin actually had great difficulty writing it, both because he was Jewish and thus didn't celebrate the holiday, and because a lot of tragedies in his life happened on or around Christmas. So in order to find inspiration, Berlin looked back to the days of his youth when Christmas was always white and everything was nice and simple, simple, leading to a melody that perfectly captured the beautiful yet simple joys of Christmas. But surprisingly enough, that wasn't the song they expected to be the film's smash hit, but rather the song written for Valentine's Day, Be Careful, It's My Heart. In fact, when Irving Berlin played the song for Bing Crosby the first time, he just thought it was an ordinary tune and didn't expect much to come from it. But as fate would have it, White Christmas was destined for great things. And somewhat ironically, though it wasn't expected to be a hit, it's the only holiday-themed song that's sung twice in the film and actually proves to be quite pivotal to the plot, which actually works to the movie's benefit in hindsight. But either way, as soon as the soundtrack for Holiday Inn was released, White Christmas became an overnight sensation, and Bing Crosby, who was still on the rise at that point, became a superstar overnight, which was a position he'd maintain, especially as a singer, for the rest of his life. And Irving Berlin ended up winning the Academy Award for Best Original Song. And a major reason for its instant popularity was because the sentiments expressed by Irving Berlin in the song perfectly captured the nostalgic feelings of longing that many war-weary soldiers felt while serving in World War II. They craved exactly the kind of simple, wonderfully white Christmas that Berlin describes in the song, and as a result took to it like a fish to water. But even long after the war, it proved to be insanely popular and was easily the most famous Christmas song of its day. And as a result of its immense and long-lasting popularity, Crosby and Berlin would team up again in 1954 to make the musical White Christmas, which ended up becoming the highest-grossing movie of that year. They would both end up being associated with the song for the rest of their lives and beyond, and neither of them exactly complained about it. But it still can't be overlooked that if there were no Holiday Inn, then there's a very good chance that the song White Christmas wouldn't exist. That movie is what started everything that came after. But while White Christmas continues to live on in the hearts of millions, and rightfully so, Holiday Inn has been almost completely lost to time with the general public, with those who do know of it usually only having heard of it because of White Christmas. And while the song ended up becoming insanely popular on its own merits, and continues to generate new fans even to this day for the same reason, many would argue that Holiday Inn itself isn't a bad movie either, and not only deserves more recognition as such, but is honestly worthy of the distinction of being the film that originated the song White Christmas. Because as I was saying before, everything about it is top-notch. Bing Crosby, Fred Astaire, and Irving Berlin are all at the top of their game, as the success of White Christmas only proves, and the supporting players are all perfectly cast as well, with Marjorie Reynolds in particular being the heart of the film as the girl both stars are fighting for, and it's got a compelling and unique plot that, with the exception of that one aforementioned scene, is actually pretty engaging. Sure, maybe it's not the best musical ever, but it's certainly one of the better ones to come out of the early 1940s. Even the very scene where Bing Crosby sings White Christmas for the first time was honestly the best introduction it could have had, because it highlights the simple sentiments of the song rather than be a big flashy show tune with no substance. And that's not even getting into how it's used at the end of the film. But even apart from that, all of the other songs, well, all except one anyway, are actually pretty good representations of their own holidays too, and all have different aspects surrounding them that make each distinct from another. Even Fred Astaire's New Year's Eve dance, which is particularly notable because he actually was drunk while they filmed it. In the end, Holiday Inn obviously can't compete with the song that it introduced, as it was simply the perfect song that was released at just the right time. But as I just noted, that doesn't mean it doesn't have plenty going for it even apart from White Christmas, and can most definitely stand on its own merits. It definitely has a few issues and isn't the best musical ever made, but it's still rather enjoyable and fun to sit through. It's honestly the kind of musical one would hope a song like White Christmas came from, because it just gets the sentiments expressed in the song so well. But if nothing else, at least the song White Christmas still lives on and most definitely gets the exposure and recognition it deserves, even if the movie it came from arguably doesn't. Alright, I think I've gone on about this for long enough, so now I want to hear your opinions. Do you believe that Holiday Inn is a movie worthy of introducing a Christmas song as iconic and beloved as White Christmas? Or do you believe that song is the only good thing about it? Or had you never even heard of Holiday Inn before you clicked on this video and are surprised to learn all of this? Whatever the case, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Just also keep in mind that you are under no obligation to agree with any of the more opinion-based parts of this video and can feel about both the song White Christmas and the movie Holiday Inn however you'd like, and nobody can tell you you're wrong. And thank you all for watching. It is all really appreciated, and I hope to see you all next time.